So we will call the meeting to order at 7:02. Are there any changes to the agenda? Yes, Dave.
Yeah, I'd like to request an executive session at the end of the meeting, Tammy, for records exempt from the Public Records Act.
Okay. Is everyone okay with that? Board members, give me a thumbs up. We're good? Okay. We'll approve that change. Okay. I need a motion to approve our minutes from October 7th. Will someone make that motion?
So moved.
Thank you. And a second? Thank you, Adrian. Okay. Are there any changes to the minutes from October 7th? Hearing none. All those board members in favor of approving the minutes, please give me a thumbs up. Is anyone opposed to approving the minutes?
I just need to abstain, Tammy.
Okay, thank you, Len.
There.
Okay. So you have that, Anne? Everyone approved and Len abstained. Okay. Next, we're going to move on to announcements. And we have a couple of announcements. So I will turn this over to Liz.
Yes, good evening. Thank you, Tammy. So I wish to address Mr. McFerrin, community members, and my fellow board members. I wish to express my regret in making an assumption at the time that Mr. McFerrin was trying to give us a hard time. I could have made my point to my fellow board members less crassly. I apologize to Mr. McFerrin, to his family, to the community, and to the board for making an assumption that was wrong, the optics of which are poor, and for doing so crassly. I misrepresented myself, my community, and this board. I also wish to thank Mr. McFerrin, for holding me accountable. I will do better. Thank you. Thank you,
Liz. The board had a statement. The board wanted to acknowledge Ms. Vilscoff's apology and just wanted to publicly state that every member of our board is an individual that is responsible for his or her own decisions and actions. I wanted to clarify that it is not the role of the chair of the board to supervise board members. We are a board of peers. The role of the chair, as selected by her or his fellow board members, is to facilitate board meetings and to speak as may be instructed to do so on behalf of the board. I also want to address Mr. McFerrin and let him know that the board has received your flag request as of the date you originally emailed it. It has considered it at all times a valid request, and it will be considered according to the board's flag policy when a policy is adopted by the board, as will all the other flag requests that the board has received and may continue to receive. And that being said, we will move on to public comment. And I just want to go over the rules. I know that you've heard them all before. For many of you, you are routinely joining us, and it's nice to see you. That's one of the positive things about us being on a video and live stream technology is that more people we have seen be able to participate in the process or listen to the board meetings, which is nice. So for those who have signed up and given Anne their information to speak this evening, these are the guidelines for this evening's public comment. Before speaking to the board, please state your full name and where you reside. Everyone this evening will have up to 3 minutes to talk. I had been asked to extend my 2 minutes for a couple of the people that wanted to speak, and I felt it would be fair to do it for everyone who wanted to speak tonight. So you'll have 3 minutes. At 30 seconds, I will interject and let you know that you have 30 seconds left. When your time is up, you will be expected to yield back to the chair. Please observe these rules. We do, as a board, have a lot of things that we need to get done. It's important that we follow the agenda, but it is also important that we hear from the people who want to speak to us. You may not give your allotted time to anyone else. There's only one opportunity for everyone to speak during public comment. Please try not to be repetitive of things that have already been said. And we just, again, to remind you that this is your opportunity to speak to the board, but it is not a dialogue with the board. So that being said, Dave, I'm going to ask you who has signed up and who are we listening to first?
You bet, Tammy. Thank you. So we have 14 individuals signed up for this evening. I'll read the list just in order, and then as we go through, I'll cue you so that you know when you're coming up. So in this order, we have, and please forgive me if I mispronounce any last names. I do apologize in advance. Heather Juliuson Stevenson, followed by Jess Venable Novak, followed by Thomas Aker, followed by Arn Majorel. Next, Jesse Williams. After that, Julie Petrossi. I do understand Mrs. Petrossi is having some login difficulties and is working with her to get her logged in. So we know that that effort is underway. Julie's followed by Mr. Todd Fillmore, followed by Brian McFerrin. Brian is followed by Judy Emmerich, then Gail Gillum, and Madison Aiken. So our first person up would be Heather, and following Heather will be Jess and Thomas.
Okay, Heather, are you on video? Can you just wave at me so I could see where you are?
Actually, Tammy, Heather is by phone. I apologize.
Oh, I'm sorry, Heather. So are you ready? I'm just going to grab my timer and get that set up, and then I will allow you. Are you ready to speak, Heather?
Hi, I'm there.
Okay, go ahead. I'll start the
timer.
timer.
You hear me? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I'm Heather Juliuson Stevenson, treasurer of the Rutland NAACP. I live in Rutland. I'm reading a statement from Tabitha Moore, president of the Rutland NAACP. Tabitha recently moved from Wallingford. We at the Rutland area branch of the NAACP have been watching the situation unfold since the beginning. While we were disappointed in the district's decision to delay raising the flags, we also recognize the importance of having a solid policy in place to prevent exactly what has happened since the decision was made. There will always be detractors, people who want to deny that racism and homophobia exist anywhere, especially here. There will always be people who are opposed to combating racism and homophobia, even with baby steps like raising flags. We've decided to comment tonight because we see the dangerous road down which some people in our community are trying to force us to walk. Please don't be distracted by antics or prideful indignation seeking to silence the pursuit of justice. When students ask you to recognize the disproportionate harm done to Black lives, please don't be sidelined by people who weaponize the police with phrases like Blue Lives Matter or All Lives Matter. Stay committed to the course of liberation for Black, Brown, and Indigenous folk and people of color, as well as members of the LGBTQI community. Don't fall for dog whistle politics, false statistics, or sensationalized stories created with the sole purpose of detracting from progress and maintaining inequity. While we hope that the school board members acknowledge and apologize for any slight they may commit through the course of their work, you must keep moving. We expect you to recognize it when people are using their personal outrage to distract you from the larger issue and to obstruct your students' call for action. Your students and community are counting on you. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Heather.
Next, we have Jess, followed by Thomas and Arn.
Okay.
And Jess is with us by video.
Okay.
I'm right. Can you hear me?
I see you. Yep. I was just sorry. I looked down to set the timer. Are you ready to start?
Sure. Yeah.
Okay. Go ahead.
Awesome. Well, my name's Jess Venable Novak. I live in Clarendon, and I have a 7-year-old daughter who is a second grader at Clarendon Elementary. And there are so many things that I'd like to comment on. I can't honestly count the times my family and I have shed tears over the ignorant and hateful words we've heard from people in our community that have contributed to us feeling unwelcomed over the last few months. But the story that is most on my mind is something that happened last Friday while I was eating dinner with my family and my very overtired 7-year-old who had just had her first play date since last February. So those of you with kids know what that's like, right? And you know, we're just eating dinner and my daughter just kind of says under her breath, when are we flying the flags? And we don't have a flagpole at our house, so I was very confused. So I was like, I'm not really sure what you mean. And she says, the pride flag and the Black Lives Matter flag. And my partner jumps in and explains that the school board is drawing up some guidelines or rules for flying the flags. in all of her 7-year-old wisdom, she informs us that all you have to do is clip a flag to a string and pull it and pull it and pull it until it gets to the top of the flagpole. So there shouldn't be a need for rules, right? Of course, we told her that that's true, but the school board's actually doing us a great service by creating guidelines to make sure that the flags that are flown are connected to her education and the learning objectives of the district. She seemed satisfied with this answer, but looked down at her mac and cheese and simply said, "I hope it happens soon, and I hope someone asks me to help." And I'm just making a comment and sharing that story because I feel like it's important to remind people that these flags matter to folks in the community. They matter to my family. They matter to my 7-year-old daughter. And it really feels like people who are against this idea that our community should overtly work to welcome people to our community by doing things like flying flags, get really rooted in kind of like the what ifs and the theoreticals. But for some people like my family, this
Just
deeply,
30
deeply
seconds.
matters.
Sorry.
And it matters so much that it keeps us up at night and it causes us to pick up and move our families. The idea of being unwelcome in our community, it creeps into the minds of 7-year-olds while they're eating mac and cheese on Friday nights. And I think that alleviating this feeling of being unwelcome starts with decisions like raising the flags. So I just want to mention that and say thank you to the board.
Okay, thank you. Your time is up. Thank you.
Next, we have
Thank you, Jess.
We have Thomas, Arn, and Jesse, and Thomas is with us by video.
Hi, Thomas.
Can you hear me all right?
I can. Let me just get this going. Are you ready to start?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, go ahead.
Thanks for having me. My name is Tom Aker, and I have an 8th grader at Mill River. I live in Castleton, but my son lives in Clarendon with his mom. I'm here to just express my concern over the level of school that you're offering right now into this new program, and maybe try and inspire you to go back to the drawing board and sharpen your pencils. Remember back in March and April when this thing hit, when we were hunting for toilet paper, we were trying to shop at a grocery store that had the least amount of out-of-state plates. Some of us weren't shaving. We were watching lots of TV. And the TV ads were curious because they hadn't caught up to the times. They were still of, Berlin City, come buy a car, or competing for your auto insurance or buy some furniture. They had no relevance to what we were all going through, and it just seemed surprising. By May and early June, those of us who hadn't shaved certainly decided it was time. And we started talking. We started envisioning something different in everything we did. The catchphrase, the anthem of the time became adapt to survive. So last night I was watching the World Series and it looks different. There are very few fans. There are masks and distancing. Celebrations look different, but it's still baseball at its highest level. They didn't shorten it to 6 innings. They didn't say 2 strikes, you're out. They're still playing at the highest level. They've changed the trappings to accommodate the times. And then what I noticed more than that were the commercials. Suddenly, technology has changed everything about our lives. Touchless payment systems, curbside pickup, communicating with your doctor face-to-face on a Zoom call instead of going to an hospital or doctor's office where you can get sick or bring illness. Everything's changed. So compare that vision of where we are today and where we're going to waiting to get back to normal. And if that's your anthem at that point, which I've heard a lot, I hope you've read my memo. I've heard a lot. We're waiting to get back to normal. If that's your anthem at this point, 8 months into this,
That's
it's time to
30 seconds,
reconsider. Thanks.
just so you know.
Thank you. So we have options. I live in Castleton. Kelly lives in Clarendon, but we don't want to leave. My kid loves his school. But if we're forced to, because he needs to be in school, he needs role models 5 days a week, we will. And that's a tragedy that we're trying to avoid. So ask yourselves, please, are you adapting or are you on the path to irrelevancy? And Thanks for your time.
Thank you, Tom. Thank you.
Tammy, next we have Arn, followed by Jesse and Julie. Arn is with us by video.
Okay. Arn, where are you? Are they by video or no? I'm sorry. Are you there?
Yeah, we've got Arn.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. There's many faces, so I apologize when I don't quite see right away. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay, go ahead.
Arn Majorel Tinmouth. I'm here to confront an accusation made by Liz Filskoff on a public Facebook post shortly after the July 22nd Zoom meeting in reference to me. Quote, "It's fear. Elevating the status of BIPOC threatens him. This is white supremacy. He cannot comprehend the universe through any other lens. That is indoctrination." End quote. This is appalling to me and could not be further from the truth. And that you would say this because I disagree with raising a flag that represents an organization that at its core wants to undermine the Constitution of the United States and promote Marxist ideology. Again, your statement accusing me of white supremacy is absolutely appalling and offensive to me. It goes against the fabric of my morality and my very faith. Let me explain. God, in his word, does not judge on outward appearance. Rather, it is the heart he examines. The Bible also describes countless multitudes of worshipers before God's throne from every nation, from every tribe and people and language. These are my brothers and sisters in Christ. There is no room for racism in my faith. Again, your comment is disgraceful. It could have a negative effect on my job and career, where for over 20 years, I've worked with people all over the world and forged relationships with people of what you refer to as different races. Liz, if you have integrity, if you're a person of good character, I would ask that you apologize to me, my wife, and family. Liz, it is also clear to me you don't have the best interests of the kids at heart. Rather, it's your radical political views that you're interested in promoting. I respectfully ask that you step down from your position as a school board member of the Mill River Union District. Thank you.
Thank you, Arn.
Tammy, we have Jesse followed by Julie and then Todd, and Jesse is with us by phone.
Okay. Jesse, are you there? Jesse, can you unmute? I think it's *6 to unmute. I feel like the governor's aide when I say that from his press conferences. Are you there?
Yes.
Okay. Are you ready? I'll start the timer. You have 3 minutes, okay?
Oh, yeah. I don't need a 30-second warning, if you would. Good evening, everyone. I would like to personally thank Mr. Earl and Mr. Gisette for pushing back against the board's reckless decision to divide the community by flying 2 flags in front of our public schools. It is not easy to do so in these times. It seems that if you stand up for what you believe in is right, you stand the chance of getting bullied and discriminated against, like we have seen by Ms. Filskoff. She has done this repeatedly to our taxpayers and our parents of our community. She's doing this to the very people she's supposed to represent. As for Tammy Heffernan, she has allowed this type of behavior under her power of board of chair. At the last board meeting, one of the community members came forward with accusations against Ms. Filskoff. Ms. Heffernan could not get him off the air fast enough, cutting him off and talking over him. I see this as very unprofessional, and if she truly were unbiased, she would have left him to finish with these type of accusations. Tammy has also allowed board members to text back and forth, which is an open meeting violation. As board chair, allowing this only shows that Tammy is unfit to represent the Mill River School District. I would ask both Liz and Tammy to step down. I'm not really sure where the arrogance of the school board members and the superintendent comes from laughing at the 500 signature petition, to the eye rolling, to the smirking at our community members, while they are making statements that is important to them. It's pretty disgusting and unprofessional. The school board members are locally elected public officials entrusted with governing the community public schools. The role of the school board is to ensure school districts are responsive to the values, beliefs, and priorities of their community. The school board continues to push the Black Lives Matter and the Pride flag, only representing about 5% of the student body, while pushing 10% by raising these flags. How is this representing the values, beliefs, and priorities of our community? How much time and money has the district put into these two flags? I would think it would be more beneficial to spend this time and make sure all students get the best education possible and improve opportunities for competitive, well-organized sports and extracurricular activities. Looks like it's time for voters to weed out the rogue board members and elect board members who respect the people of our community. Thanks for your time.
Thank you. Thank you, Jess.
Tammy, next we have Julie Petrossi, followed by Todd Fillmore and Brian McFerrin. I believe Julie is with us by phone.
Julie, are you there?
Yep. Can you hear me?
Yes. Yes, we can. Are you ready? I'll start the timer. You have 3 minutes, okay?
Okay. Yep. So I'm going to start. This is Julie Petrossi. I'm calling from Wallingford. I'm just going to start out by saying that, I'm really disappointed that I have to admit how rogue our school board has become. After the last board meeting and the comments shared by Mr. McFerrin, I also have a few of my own observations about Liz Philskoff. She manages the Wallingford, Vermont Democrat Facebook page, along with her personal page under the name of Dem Ford, where she posts personal opinions publicly while wearing the school board hat and joining in with the mob in attacking neighbors when they stand up and voice an opposing perspective. And on July 8th, under the name of Dem Ford, Liz publicly made a post calling for community members to join her in signing a petition to remove a select board member in Wallingford from her public servant position on the grounds of insulting the hair length of 2 boys and calling them girls. So Liz quotes, "Unfortunately, we have someone on the select who not only doesn't represent our values, she is unkind to boot. The residents of Wallingford deserve much, much better," end quote. So if Liz can call for the resignation of a Wallingford Select Board member for only one foolish comment about someone's hair and then disregarding her apology as anything but genuine and her actions unforgivable, then why should Liz Philskoff not be held to her own plumb line of punishment for name-calling and racially profiling multiple community members herself, both in private emails and public political forums? If she sets the standard for public service, then isn't it fair and just for her to receive the very punishment and condemnation that she has reserved for others with lesser offenses than her own? I agree with Mr. McFerrin's comments in suggesting that Liz Philskoff should respectfully resign from the school board. I believe Liz to be unfit representative for the school board having anything to do with influencing any children's education. Thank you.
Thank you, Julie.
How do I mute?
Oh, I don't know. Do you know how to mute again? I'm sorry, I don't know. I know the *6 part.
*6.
*6 again. Thank you, Anne.
Okay.
Thank you, Julie, for muting. Okay. Next we
have Todd Fillmore, followed by Brian McFerrin and Judy Emmerich, and Todd is with us by video.
Hi, Todd. How are you?
Hi, Tammy. Good evening, folks. I'm well, thank you. I'm Todd Fillmore from Shrewsbury, as many of you folks know. Clearly, difficult, complex issues do not give any of us the right to abuse or misuse our neighbors, no matter how strongly we feel about those particular issues. I've seen several Facebook posts from a board member that I find very disturbing. In response to concerns over the board's attempts to fly the controversial Black Lives Matter and Pride flags at our schools, Liz Philskoff went on a hate-filled rampage against 2 respected members of the community, one who has already spoken this evening. One man humbly shared his experience, Arn actually, as a humanitarian volunteer at an orphanage in the Dominican Republic, and his ethical objection to those flags at district schools. In an irrational diatribe, Philskoff tore him apart on the Facebook quote that was previously read. It's fear. Elevating the status of BIPOC threatens him. This is white supremacy. He cannot comprehend the universe through any other lens. That is indoctrination, end quote. In an identical Facebook rant, Filskoff again maliciously attacked an elder neighbor and a church deacon for his stance against these divisive flags, again accusing this man of racism. Behold our racist neighbors in plain sight. Quite a dramatic flare, I would add. These people are respected in their community, and there's no evidence of any racism whatsoever. From where I stand, Ms. Filskoff's behavior appears openly defamatory in its essence, with no concern for those damaged by her ridiculous public accusations. I emphasize that such accusations can destroy people's lives, but maybe this was Liz Filskoff's intent. I don't know. We can't also ignore Ms. Filskoff's crude insults against Brian McFerrin, an Asian American father, when he pressed the board for a flag representing Asian lives. This quote is well known by now. People are getting out of hand. I don't think Brian McFerrin is Asian, but who knows? It sounds like he's just being a dick, end quote. Meet Liz Filskoff, self-appointed witch hunter, judge, jury, and executioner. This is unacceptable in any public official, much less a school board member, who represents 4 diverse communities with direct influence on the teaching of kids. As a custodial grandparent, I find it inconceivable that someone like Ms. Filskoff remains on the school board in good standing. Hollow apologies will not repair the damage and humiliation these people have suffered, Liz. It's time for you to go. I'm sorry, but I demand your resignation today. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Todd.
Mm-hmm.
Tammy, we have Brian McFerrin, followed by Judy Emmerich and Gail Gillum, and Brian is with us by video.
Hi, Brian. How are you?
Good evening.
Start the timer now. Go ahead.
My name is Brian McFerrin. I live in Rutland, Vermont. My kids live in Wallingford. I've had the opportunity to read Facebook posts and transcripts of emails between certain board members and found comments to be extremely shocking. There's obviously personal and political interests that are taking priority over the board's decision-making that is more important to them than the community. Some community members and parents of students, including myself, are subject to ridicule for speaking up on the current issue of flags. These comments were made behind our backs in emails that some of these board members obviously did not expect to be brought to light. This is no mere slip of tongue comments, but purely how they felt. One school board member in particular seemed to make regular practice of freely insulting members of the community with really no fear of consequence for their remarks by other board members that were included in their email. A simple apology would not fix this issue, and I hope the board does the right thing to correct this unacceptable and unprofessional behavior and request Ms. Filskoff to step down from the board. The BLM and Pride flag were obviously given the fast track while my request for a Yellow Lives Matter flag was questioned. It just doesn't fit your agenda. So I guess yellow lives do not matter to you until it has national attention as BLM and the gay community. Until then, I guess us Asians, and Ms. Filskoff, I am half Asian, must sit back in silence so you can stand up for the most vocal, violent, and bullying organizations. That's all I have to say. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Brian. Okay.
Tammy, next we have Judy Emmerich, followed by Gail Gillum and Madison Aiken. I am not sure if Judy is with us. I'm trying to see either name or a phone number that matches, so we may just want to pause and see if Judy is here.
Judy, are you with us? And is that who you were trying to connect with?
That was
No.
Mrs. Petrossi, so
sorry.
she just spoke, yep.
I don't see the number that Judy gave to us.
Yeah,
Okay.
I don't see her name or the number she provided, so I assume we're safe to go on to Gail Gillum, followed by Madison Aiken, and both are with us on video.
Okay. Gail, good evening.
Yes, good evening.
Are you ready? I'll start the timer.
I'm gonna read because I'm just gonna read. So good
No
evening,
problem.
everyone. To be frank, it bothers me to have to speak out at the Mill River Union High School school board meeting this evening, asking for the resignation of a board member, but enough is enough. At some point in time, I've decided that we have to stand up. Mill River Union used to be the school of choice to attend, and the school was overflowing with students from many towns. One of my daughter's classes graduated over 170 students. Over the years, many of us have stayed silent and just led our lives, not knowing exactly what was happening in our school system. We heard a few things during town meeting, and that was probably the gist of it, but no more. To be fair, I do appreciate the time a school board member commits to the district, but it is not to be self-serving or to act disparagingly toward community members. This is where I've decided I have to draw the line. It has come to the attention of many of us that a school board member has broken the VSBA ethic code by calling a community member a white supremacist. Similar name calling has transpired over social media, disparaging other community members, and some of those same comments have been sent to board members. This is not okay, and it's against the rules. Again, honestly, this is really bothersome to me, but I have to request the resignation of Liz Vilskoff because she is apparently not able to conduct her duties as an unbiased school board member in the best interest of the students of the Mill River District. Thank you.
Thank you, Gail. And then who's next? Dave?
Last speaker is Madison Aiken, and Madison's with us by video.
Hi, Madison. There you are.
Hi.
You have 3 minutes, and I'll start the timer now. Are you ready?
I'm ready. Thank you. I'm Madison Aiken from Clarendon. Over the summer, teachers, parents, students, administrators volunteered to create curriculum for the BLM and Pride flag ceremonies. It was a lot of work, and it was informative and important. But we needed to plan for something else. The committee needed to make arrangements for safety. Committee member safety, student safety considerations, and district safety. That's disgusting. Some of our community members are verbally threatening or using other methods of intimidation towards members of our committee who are centering the lives of the lived experiences of Black and Brown and LGBTQ folks. This is pretty gross. This is the context in which the board received a flag request, which went like this. My kids go to Wallingford Elementary School. Will you be flying a Yellow Lives Matter flag, or are they not significant? This suggests that only populations with a flag to represent them are significant to the school board or within our community. This is intentionally antagonizing, especially in the current climate of hostility and aggression. Someone asked for an All Flags Matter flag. While some may find that funny, in this context, I find it violent. BLM and Pride flags are being used to unite people to address violence faced by targeted Americans. I don't find the death of George Floyd a laughing matter. I'm not laughing about the disproportionate murder of trans folks. The systemic violence from the culture of American policing towards Black folks is tragic. It doesn't make me want to crack a joke. If you think that these are national issues that don't affect life in Vermont, look around your neighborhood at all the new Confederate flags. Know your history. Racist and homophobic violence is a straight line from our past to today. Ask any member of the flag committee at MRU. So to the person who's upset because his Yellow Lives Matter flag request was not received as a legitimate request for equity and inclusion, I have these things to say. 1, you get to refer to yourself in any way that you would like, but yellow is a complicated and potentially offensive term if used by white Americans. This is exactly why we need BLM flags, to begin the conversation about identity, vocabulary, history, labeling, equity, representation, and inclusion. BLM is just the starting point. 2, you have an apology. This is equity work. It's emotional, it's important, and it's powerful. If your flag request was really a plea for inclusion and representation, then you'll be willing to join lots of committees. But it seems as if you're using the foothold of being called a phallus to interrupt progress for Black, Brown, and LGBTQ folks. Join the work, or you're simply using your identity and the identity of family members to attack Black and gay folks and their allies with threats of lawsuits and cries of victimization. Men have done this for over 400 years in this country.
30 seconds, Madison.
I bet the people who come before you, whose shoulders you're standing on, and who worked for justice, wish that they were only called a phallus. Here's a short list of people who suffered more than you. Medgar Evers, Malcolm X, Mahatma Gandhi, Harvey Milk, Khalif Brower, Aki Caruso, John Lewis, John Carlos, Heather Heyer, 9 parishioners at Mother Emanuel ME Church, every single freedom rider, Kaya Morris, Rodney King, Matthew Shepard, Emmett Till, Jackie Robinson, and a number of people in your community.
Your time's up, Madison.
Let's not be an obstacle for social justice.
Madison, your time's up. Thank you. Do we have anyone else, Dave? Were we able to get Judy?
I am not aware of Judy being with us, so I believe we're all done with our public comment piece.
Okay. I would just remind everyone who is not a part of the board that if you could log off and then join the watch the live stream, I would appreciate that. And thank you again for participating. We'll move on to our committee business. This is the next item on the agenda. And first up is personnel. Len, do you have anything for us?
Sorry. No, I do not. We're going to meet the first Wednesday in November, and we had a discussion with David. Maria and I had a discussion with David today about his evaluation, and we're moving along.
Okay, thank you. Policy, BJ.
Unmute. Okay. So we do have a first reading. So I'd like to bring a first reading for our flag policy. So can I have a motion for that?
You're making the motion. I'll ask for the second.
I'm making the motion to move our flag for a first reading.
And Adrian will second it. Okay. Is there any discussion with regard to that, the flag policy? You're muted.
Yep, I am. Sorry about that. My finger worked, but my voice wasn't. I've read the policy, and after discussions amongst the legal counsel of the board and the chair, myself, we thought that we would suggest that the policy be sent back to the flag or to the policy committee to both better articulate the government speech concept and to articulate more clearly the fact that a flag might meet all the criteria that we have laid out and still not be approved by the board. Both of those items are pretty significant, so I'm requesting that the policy go back to the policy committee.
Is there anyone else that has any comment? Any discussion? BJ, do you want?
Oh, we got David.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
yeah,
David.
just I'd like to bring one piece up, looking at the draft policy, and of course, if the board directs me to take that back to the committee, I can do that work and prep that for the next policy committee meeting. That's not a problem. With the current iteration of the policy that we brought for first reading tonight, I would like to just make sure that the board is aware of how I would envision that policy playing out if and when it is approved. As you know, that policy for first reading puts the responsibility on the superintendent to review any requests that we have. And we currently have 7 requests. Those requests come from Reese Eldert Moore, Andy Richards Peel, Brian McFerrin, 2 requests from Anna Majorel, 1 from Bill Jones, and 1 from Todd Fillmore. And I did read those names in order of their receipt. I would need to review each of those requests against the new policy. My preliminary understanding would be that each of those requests would be denied under the current policy. And so if that occurred, I would need to notify those individuals that was the case. So I want to just be clear with the board on where we stand with what you're currently contemplating. That wouldn't preclude future requests from coming in, but the board would have a public obligation to have me do my work and then report out to the board on the status of those. And then, of course, let things play out as they do. Just felt compelled to share that with you.
Thank you, Dave. Andy, go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you, Dave, for clarifying that. I think it's very important that we send this back to the committee to consider Adrian's 2 points. This is obviously a very important policy. We have heard clearly from the community that there are a lot of concerns around it. We want to be able to do our work well and thoroughly, so there are no loose ends, and everyone feels that they are being served equitably and properly. And once you do that, as you pointed out, David, currently the requests that we have will not adhere to all the conditions of our policy, which is, I think, is fine. And those who want can go back and review it and resubmit formal requests.
Thank you,
That's
Andy.
Okay. Anything else? I just want to actually make a comment before I'm actually going to amend my motion to send it back, but I want to make a comment that I love the process that we're going through with this. I think we are taking the time. We have listened to all the public feedback that has been given to us, which has allowed us to build this policy and even make it better. I do like the fact that we're taking our time and doing this right. So I want to thank the community with that. But with that said, and based on the comments here, I would like to amend my original motion to have the policy go back to committee for review.
Okay, is there a second to the amend, or Adrian, will you second the amended motion? Yes, she will. Okay.
And
are there any other? Sure.
Yeah.
And any other comments?
We do have our next meeting scheduled
Oh,
for.
well, wait.
Oh,
we
yeah.
have to vote on this.
Oh, we have to vote it.
So is there any other discussion on the sending it back to the policy committee on the flag policy based upon Adrian's concerns that she voiced? Okay, hearing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor of the amended motion to send the flag policy back to policy committee for further revision, please indicate by thumbs up. Anyone opposed, please say no. Okay, anyone abstaining? Okay, now you can go forward, BJ.
Okay, I'll get this. Yeah, we have normally we rescheduled the first Tuesday of every month. However, that is a very important day that I'm hoping everybody is going to be busy at the polls and voting, or have done that beforehand. So we've chosen to have our next policy meeting on Tuesday the 10th at 5 o'clock.
Okay. Anything else from you? That's it?
No, I think I'm done.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Negotiations, Adrian.
Should have prepped my microphone, sorry. We are starting up with the support staff next week and hope that that will progress and be settled as quickly as possible. We may have had a slight stall in the teacher negotiations, but I'm hoping that we'll figure out a way to move forward.
Okay,
so we have,
thank you.
No, nothing else.
Okay. John, buildings and grounds.
Nothing new. We also, like BJ, realized that our next meeting is election day. However, we opted to cancel the meeting for the month. If we have anything that pops up, we can always have a special meeting. But as of now, our next meeting would be, I don't know what the first Tuesday in December is, but we'll have plenty of meetings between now and then to figure that out. So thank you. That's it.
Thank you, John. Okay, Maria, community engagement.
Hi, so we had a meeting last night and unfortunately we didn't have a quorum of board members, so we had to reschedule. So we are having a community engagement meeting next week on the 28th, and I would like to thank everybody who did show up yesterday.
Thank you, and I'm sorry I couldn't, yeah. And then we will move on to finance. Liz.
Okay, good evening. I'm going to use Andy's line. Let's do the numbers. Okay, so I have the following pay orders for approval from the general fund and dated October 21st. I have a pay warrant in the amount of $444,356.70. I have another pay warrant in the amount, also from the general fund, in the amount of $4,811.13. And from after school program, a pay warrant in the amount of $523.60 for a total of $449,691.43. I also have payroll dated October 9th in the amount of $547,938.18, and dated October 16th, $6,282.25, for a total of $554,220.43. And I move that we accept the payroll and the pay warrants as presented.
Thank you, Liz. Is there a second? Thank you, Doug. And then is there discussion? So Doug, you have to unmute.
I mean, that's about there we go. Nothing really of any distinction going on, but I did find out something that was kind of a scary situation. Cost of insurance for the staff that we have was $182,000, somewhere in that area. That's a very expensive situation. I'm just glad we can do what we need to do. Thank you.
Thank you, Doug. Okay, any other discussion on the pay orders and payroll as presented? Hearing none, all those in favor of approving the pay orders and payroll as read, please say aye. Thumbs up. Aye. Thank you. Anyone opposed, please say no. Any abstentions? Okay. Thank you. Doug, can you mute again? Oh, thanks. Okay. And then we will move on. Do you have anything else, Liz?
Just that our next finance meeting is Monday, the 26th at 4:30 p.m.
Great, thank you. We'll move on to transact other legal business. George is not with us tonight. Maria.
I'm not sure. I have this feeling that I said that our meeting was on the 28th. I'm sorry, community engagement, and it is the 27th, which is Tuesday at 6:30 p.m.
Oh, okay. Thank you for that clarification. I had it on the calendar for Tuesday, though. Any other legal business? Hearing none. Agenda building. Our next meeting, Dave, we're going to have central office reports, right? First meeting of the month?
Yes, we would be due for central office and principal reports, and I am targeting bringing the board an update on our district goals and recommendations for modifications to those based on our COVID closure in the spring, if that meets the needs of the board. That will be a little bit of a fuller board meeting because it's the first of the month. If you'd like me to delay that report to the second board meeting of the month, I would certainly comply with your wishes. That's entirely up to the board, though, and when you'd like that to be presented.
Guys, any input? First meeting, second meeting? Does it matter? Doesn't matter. So do you have a preference, Dave? Would you think that more time would serve you well to be able to go through, so schedule it for the second meeting? Or?
Yeah, that'd be fantastic if doable. I'd appreciate that.
Okay, so we'll do that as the second meeting. Anything else we need to add to next meeting's agenda? Len?
Yeah, and I don't know that it needs to be next meeting, but at some point, one of the things that we did in the 3-year equity plan was talk about restorative justice. Mm-hmm. And I think an update on where we are with that would be helpful.
Absolutely, good point. Dave, can you maybe speak to the powers that be, Jody and company, and see when we could get a restorative justice update, please?
Can do. Absolutely.
We don't need it next week or whatever, but I just think it's something we need to put up there.
No, thank you, Len, for calling that to our attention again, keeping it on the radar. Great. So we do need an executive session for records exempt from public records. So would someone please make that motion? Adrian, thank you. Is there a second? Thank you, Len. So all in favor of going into executive session for that purpose, please thumbs up. Okay. This would conclude the public portion of the meeting. Dave, I don't anticipate from that executive session that we would need to take any further action, so we can.
That's correct. I do not anticipate any further action from the board.
So we'll let the public know that public portion of the meeting will conclude. I'd ask board members to join in on that separate link. And remember, when you do so, it's an executive session, so be in a space where you can speak freely and listen freely, please.